Well, no doubt it's the news everyone is reporting on tonight. And if you don't mind, put in the comment section or the chat where you are watching from. And thank you for joining with me today as we delve into a story that not only has shaken the corporation, but it has sent shockwaves across our nation. This story touches on themes of corporate power, personal grievances, and tragic consequences of unresolved anger. And it is a reminder for everybody watching of how your choices, our choices, can ripple out into the world, sometimes even with unforeseen and heartbreaking results. And today we're talking about the shocking and untimely death of Brian Thompson, who is the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, and the subsequent arrest today of Luigi Mangione. It's the suspect today. And what they are saying, and I think likely, I put it in the chat, is he the right person, the one responsible for carrying out this heinous act? Listen, on this channel, one thing that we're committed to is unpacking the facts, reflecting on their meaning, and seeking lessons that can help us move forward. We are a Christian channel, so we try to do our best to understand from a spiritual perspective what's going on, as well as using common sense. Let me set the stage for you. On December 4th, Brian Thompson was in New York City attending the annual investors conference for United Health Group. For those who may not be familiar, United Healthcare is one of the largest health insurance providers in the United States, serving millions of people, thousands and thousands and thousands of employees, $500 billion a year in revenue. It is a behemoth in the healthcare world, and its CEO, Brian Thompson, was widely regarded as a strong and visionary leader. But on that day, what should have been a routine business trip took a tragic turn. Outside of the New York Hilton Midtown Hotel, a masked assailant approached Thompson and fatally shot him. Witnesses described a chaotic scene as a gunman fled the area on a bicycle, vanishing into the busy Manhattan streets. The shock of this act reverberated far beyond the corporate world. Brian Thompson was not just a CEO. He was a husband, a father, and a respected leader in his field. His death left a void that no business strategy or corporate pivot can fill. And while the loss was deeply personal for those who knew him, it also became a symbol of a growing anger and frustration in our society, an anger that many of you in the chat sense and feel today. And it's an anger that, unfortunately, in this situation turned violent. For weeks, authorities searched for the suspect. The investigation spanned multiple states and involved local law enforcement, federal agencies, and forensic experts. The public waited anxiously for news, wondering who could have committed such a brazen act and why. And today, on December 9th, 2024, there was finally a breakthrough. Authorities arrested 26-year-old Luigi Mangione at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. An employee recognized Mangione from the news reports and tipped off the police. When officers arrived, Mangione was taken into custody without incident. Here's where the story gets even more intriguing. At the time of his arrest, Mangione was carrying a 9mm ghost gun, a firearm that was assembled from parts and without serial numbers, making it untraceable. He also had multiple fake IDs and a manifesto that investigators say was critical of the health insurance industry. This manifesto, along with other evidence, paints a picture of a man who is deeply disillusioned with corporate America, particularly the practices of the health insurance sector. It's rather unusual considering his family from Maryland is one of the wealthiest families in the entire state, and they own a couple of country clubs. He went to a private high school that costs $40,000 per year. To understand the tragedy fully, we do need to dig deeper into Mangione's background. By all accounts, he was a brilliant individual. His family, as I said, hailed from Baltimore, a very prominent family. He graduated from the prestigious Gilman School. He was the valedictorian. He earned degrees in engineering and computer science from the University of Pennsylvania. That is an Ivy League institution, the same one, by the way, that President Donald Trump went to. On paper, his future looked bright, but beneath the surface, allegedly, something was clearly amiss. Investigators are now piecing together a timeline that led up to the shooting, and early reports suggest that Mangione had been having some grievances for some time. Bullet casings found on the crime scene had words like deny, defend, and depose engraved on them. These terms are eerily similar to that of a 2010 book called Delay, Deny, Defend, which is a scathing critique of the insurance industry's practices. This discovery hints at a possible motive, though it's important to remember that no grievance, no matter how justified it may feel, can ever excuse an act of violence. As we process these developments, it's worth reflecting on what this means for our society. First, an issue of workplace safety. If the CEO of one of the largest corporations in America can be targeted, what does that say about the safety of everyday employees? And this is, if you're scouring the internet, one of the things that most of the people are talking about. Why are we in such a culture that for the average day employee, it's high pressure and high stakes? And I think many of you in the chat can relate to that sense. Second, the issue of mental health. Mangione's actions suggest a level of frustration and anger that had been festering, obviously, for a long time. Could this have been prevented if somebody had called out the warning signs? And if so, what are those warning signs and how can we detect them? And then there's finally broader grievances in our culture. We live in a world that's all too easy to feel powerless, to feel like the systems that are in place are against us. And I think that's one of the things that, as we've covered the election for the past several months, that we felt is part of the reason why so many people went out in record numbers, voted for Donald Trump to win presidency. And in fact, every single county in America swayed towards Donald Trump. There wasn't one place from 2020 to 2024 that Harris gained ground compared to Biden in the previous election. And part of the reason why is because there's so many people across the country right now that feel powerless and that the systems are rigged against us. And maybe if we put the right person in office, there'd be somebody standing up for us. And I don't know if that's what the motive is in this case, but it certainly is a big part of the speculation. Now, for Brian Thompson family, there's more than just a headline. It's a devastating loss. No amount of justice can ever heal. And for the employees of UnitedHealthcare, especially the ones that were close to him, it's a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of looking out for one another. And for the rest of us, everybody that's watching the stream and paying attention to everything that's going on, it's a call to action, to be kinder, to listen more, to seek solutions rather than succumbing to anger. So where do we go from here? Well, Luigi Mangione is now facing charges in Pennsylvania, including possessions of a ghost gun and false identification. He had 4 fake IDs on him. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office is working to extradite him to New York, where he's expected to face charges of first-degree murder. Authorities believe that the crime was premeditated, describing Mangione as having lied in wait for Thompson outside the hotel. And the road to justice will be long, and it won't bring Brian Thompson back, but perhaps it can bring some measure of closure to those who loved him and inspire meaningful conversations about the issues that this case has brought to light. Tragedies like this remind us, hopefully, of our shared humanity, that it's a challenge for us to look beyond headlines and see people behind stories, that there's victims and there's perpetrators and there's everybody that's caught in between. And I think we need to work together on building a world where anger and frustration don't fester into violence, and that we can work to build a society that values life, compassion, and understanding. And I want to look at a couple of videos tonight just to understand this story a little bit more. And there's certainly a lot of people, and I think some of you that are watching, have been looking at this. One of the things that I did immediately was just go look at his Instagram account, his Facebook account, and see what associations there were. Those accounts don't exist anymore, but some people did take some screenshots. Like I said, it's going to be a shorter stream tonight because I'm actually traveling. I'm on the road. And I have a dinner tonight. So Amy Heights, thank you. Jennifer Swain, Cadjoy, Michelle, and Bo Farley, welcome to the Feller fam. And thank you for gifting that membership. Okay, let's check out this video. Jennifer Coffendaver is on this video. This is one of the most unique cases I think that we've ever covered. By the way, can we have a goal of 10 on our super sticker train? And sometimes Amy Heights calls it a bullet train just to make it go faster. Maybe it's a bullet train today. Amy Heights.
This is the Ivy League graduate and valedictorian who police say is the suspected CEO assassin.
Luigi Nicholas Mangione.
Luigi Mangione is from a wealthy Maryland family. He was valedictorian at his graduation from a $40,000 a year private school with a carnation in his buttonhole.
It's been an incredible journey, and I simply can't imagine the last few years with any other group of guys. Thank you.
He is now a data engineer with a degree from the University of Pennsylvania. This is a muscle-bound Mangione working at an office in Honolulu where he last lived. He is 26 years old and was arrested in a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, 100 miles east of Pittsburgh, and held at this local police headquarters.
He is believed to be our person of interest in the brazen targeted murder of Brian Thompson, CEO of UnitedHealthcare, last Wednesday in Midtown Manhattan.
A McDonald's employee recognized the grinning suspect from the surveillance camera images seen around the country. That employee then called 911. Police say he had a gun, a silencer, fake IDs, and what is described as a manifesto. That manifesto reportedly says of healthcare executives, those parasites had it coming, and I do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done. This is one of the fake IDs found on Mangione. It's said to match the one used by the killer to check into a hostel in Upper Manhattan. He is said to be a big admirer of the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski.
I mean, any time that, you're admiring a murderer, that's a pretty bad sign. And so he admires the Unabomber. What does that tell you? And the Unabomber, I think, did like a 20-year mailbox kind of thing. This guy, I think, had kind of a long run. Mangione had a long play at hand. I think he thought he wasn't going to get caught.
Responsible for a 20-year mail bombing campaign. Police say when he was busted at the McDonald's, he was carrying a gun he made himself with a 3D printer. His family owns 2 country clubs in Maryland. And is this a clue to an alleged motive? It's an image on Mangione's social media showing an X-ray of 4 pins in a spinal injury. It's unclear whether Mangione is the patient. The breakthrough in the case came as police divers continued to search a lake in New York's Central Park for items dumped by the assassin. A backpack believed to have been worn by the killer was found in the park Friday night. It contained clothing and, of all things, wads of Monopoly money. Former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer believes the assassin,
Hey, put a 1 in the chat if you think they have the right person.
wanted to send a message.
The Monopoly money symbolized UnitedHealthcare being a monopoly, but it was bigger than that. It was him showing his grandioseness, in my opinion, saying, look, I can taunt the police and they're still not going to find me.
There's not much funny about murder, but Saturday Night Live's Weekend Update delivered a half-dozen one-liners about the assassin.
And it really says something about America that a guy was murdered in cold blood, and the 2 main reactions were, yeah, well, healthcare stinks. And also, girl, that shooter hot.
Beyond the laughter is one family's grief. UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson was laid to rest today. Now it seems as if the 6-day search could be over, thanks to an eagle-eyed McDonald's employee.
A McDonald's employee did something we ask every American to do. If you see something, say something, but most importantly, do something.
Now, I think they got the right guy, but I saw this on X earlier, and it was perplexing. They said, let me get this straight. Killer is Luigi Mangione, Ivy League grad with degrees in computer science, avid reader, and active contributor on GitHub. He has 130 plus IQ, but he takes off his mask at a Starbucks to flirt with an employee, and then an hour later goes and calmly kills the CEO of a major healthcare company, rides away on a bike. A week later, goes to a local McDonald's, which is all the way in Altoona, Pennsylvania, where he brings the murder weapon, the fake ID he used to check into a hotel, and a written manifesto on how horrible the American healthcare system is. He somehow gets identified by the cashier at McDonald's after he sits down. He works on his laptop until police come inside the McDonald's, sitting there with a ghost gun and suppressor he made himself. Gotcha. That's what this person said. I mean, that as strange as that sounds, that is actually the byline of this story. As strange as that sequence of events that I just read from Peruvian Bull is, that is what it is. He goes to a park, ditches a backpack full of Monopoly money, but not the murder weapon. Plus, the backpack straps in the photo are different color than the backpack straps from the killing of Brian Thompson, which if you've seen that picture, it's totally strange. It's like, why are there 2 different backpacks? The counter arguments aren't adding up. But he wanted to get caught, bro. Okay, so why didn't he turn himself into police directly? He had the gun on him for protection. You're telling me he couldn't have used literally anything other than the murder weapon itself as a concealed carry? You're a conspiracy theorist, bro. No, I'm just questioning the narrative because we've learned so many times that the official narrative is simply wrong. And I think that's fair. Like when, no offense, but whenever I think about what happened to Donald Trump, and I think you're right, Nanner knows about the psychopathy thing. When you think about what happened to Donald Trump with the guy that shot him, the Thomas Crooks guy, why was his house completely scrubbed clean? Why was there somebody from the FBI that had visited Thomas Crooks 8 times leading up to the assassination? And so attempt of Donald Trump. So it's like every time we're kind of just like, what's going on? And then Peruvian Bull says, oh, and one of the workers said they identified him based on his eyebrows from a grainy Starbucks picture. I mean, that's the photos right there. That's how they identified him, by those eyebrows. He does have unique eyebrows. Jennifer Coffindaffer tweeting saying, if you're going to commit a crime like this, you need to shave your eyebrows. CEO assassination. The assassination of Brian Thompson, this is by Jennifer Coffindaffer, was heir to a fortune made by his grandfather. His grandfather had 10 children. He worked his way up from nothing. He truly realized the American dream that so many have. Where did it all go wrong? I recently went to a wealth seminar. They said that according to statistics, in 3 generations, the wealth you built from nothing will be wasted away. Luigi Mangione was taught math. He was taught computers. He was taught by the best in the country. But did anyone teach him, thou shalt not kill? Which he's basically saying, did anybody teach him the Bible? Did anybody teach him the 10 Commandments? It seems his moral compass was with Nicola Machiavelli. The ends justify the means. For me, Voltaire had it right. He who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. The bottom line, what a waste. And here you are seeing a photo. Hang on, what just happened? Oh, and here you are seeing a photo of his country club on the left. Let me just click on it. This is his country club. This is his house. And that's him. That's one of the things that's ironic about it. This guy was maybe worth more than, the guy from UnitedHealthcare. Mangione maybe have been worth more. Kim Allison, Kat Joy, thank you for the triple whammy, and Jennifer Swain rocking and rolling on our bullet train today. Thank you guys so much for your support. I wanted to show you this clip also from Piers Morgan because I think it's wrong, but this Taylor Lorenz laughs and smiles as Piers Morgan plays back a clip of her celebrating the shooting of the UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, describing it as a joy. Listen, I'm totally against this violence. And and there's no way on earth, in my opinion, the most corrupt CEO should be murdered in cold blood out in the streets of New York by a 26-year-old holding a gun. And I'm not saying that Brian Thompson's the most corrupt business person. I'm just saying if he is the most corrupt, and I don't even know if he's corrupt at all, but let's just hypothetically say he is, he doesn't deserve to die that way. And the law and justice in our society should value and be of something. But there's an issue that's happening in the United States of America and other cultures probably too. And it's simply this. Here's what it is. It's that everyday average Americans feel like insurance companies and large corporations kind of have it over on them. And they actually don't give the provided coverage that they promise that they're going to give. And so there's a little bit of anger and angst that's inside of this. It's unfelt anger. And there's many of you in the chat that can relate to that. It's like, you listen, I pray and hope to God that you hope that whoever's in charge of these insurance companies don't die. But and I totally agree with that. Never, ever, ever do I endorse any type of violence towards anybody. I agree with what I just read from Jennifer Coffindaffer. But at the same time, some of these insurance companies do have blood on their hands because they have denied treatment. I know somebody that died because they had to make a decision at the end of the week whether or not they were going to buy groceries for their family or diabetic medicine for themselves. And they chose groceries for their daughter. And they ended up passing away because they didn't have the proper diabetes medicine that they needed. Some of these insurance companies have blood on their hands. But what I think happens on this clip is not appropriate.
With my mischaracterization of what you said and inferring that you were feeling joyful about what had happened to this guy. So we've got the clip and we'll just play it back just to remind you.
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, you know, because it feels like...
Serious?
I mean...
Joy at a man's execution?
Not, maybe not joy, but certainly not, certainly not empathy. This is literally...
So you felt joy? You felt joy.
I'm so glad that you played that clip, because you'll see that I did.
Is it okay? Just put it in the chat. Is it okay for this person to feel joy about Brian Thompson getting murdered? Put a 1 if you say yes, put a 2 if you say no. Listen, you're entitled to your own opinion. I'm putting a 2. I'm putting a 2. I think it's totally wrong, but we're all entitled to our own opinion.
And then she said she misspoke and clarified.
Oh.
And I didn't say that I felt joy.
You don't think, Mark, it was more that she wished she hadn't said she felt joy? Because she suddenly realized how bad it
why
sounded.
don't you listen to that clip again? Because I don't say that I feel joy in the man's death. I said I feel joy because, and that's exactly when you cut me off. And if you let me finish, I would say, I feel joy.
Bullshit.
Oh, bullshit. Piers, you don't know what was in your head.
That's not. She's...
Since when do they use foul language on the news?
She's right. She's right, Piers.
Bullshit.
She actually said, I feel joy, and then you interrupted her there. Perhaps, I don't know what she was going to say, but she certainly didn't get a chance to finish.
Well, the viewers can watch the whole thing in the right context.
And you may not realize this, but
we don't censor things here. Mark, I don't know why you're going out of your way to defend her, mate. Because Taylor, let's be honest, you know what you said. You wish you hadn't said it.
Truth.
Let me give Taylor an opportunity. Would you like to apologize for using the word joy?
Again, if you take the word joy completely out of context from the word that I said it,
would you like to?
It was because
would you like to
I'm so glad
apologize?
you just
Yes or
played the
no?
clip.
Yes or no?
You just played the clip that showed that I said I feel joy because, and that's right when you cut me off. So let me tell you why I feel joy. I feel joy because people like you, who are rich and powerful and on TV and have all the access to all the healthcare privileges in the world, are finally being forced to pay attention to the barbaric healthcare system that murders tens of thousands of innocent Americans. And that is what I feel joy in, that people like you are forced to confront those systemic problems.
Well, I think it's wrong pointing the finger at Piers Morgan like that, but I agree with an essence of what she's saying, that listen, these are big issues in our culture that nobody's talking about. And if this evil atrocity is actually the thing that brings it to the forefront, then it's finding the silver lining. Again, I don't agree with the violence. So it's so nuanced to even be able to say what I just said out loud. I mean, it's terrible to feel joy over somebody's brutal murder when they have kids back home in Minnesota. How horrible of a thing to say. But at the same time, being able to say, listen, there's systemic problems in our culture that stem from corporations like UnitedHealthcare bringing in $500 billion in annual revenue. And every single day, people being denied really life-saving coverage that they need. And so, it's okay to say the second thing. It's not okay to say the first thing. But because she says the second thing, it's like a virtue signal to accept what she said in the first thing. And I just totally disavow it. But listen, let's be in a situation where us as a society and a culture actually want that healthcare reform. And I think it's going to happen. Linda Carlino, Kim, thank you for those super stickers. Renee, thank you. Okay. Here's a thread. Everything I found out about Luigi Mangione. He was an Ivy League student. You can kind of see some of the people he's hanging out with at university. He has a master's of science in engineering and a bachelor's of science in computer science. This picture here that you see with those basically screws, that's going to be, I think, a big part of this whole thing. I think that's going to be a big part of this whole thing. It's kind of ironic coming from somebody that is worth more, worth tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars, even as a 20-year-old. And then this is him on GitHub. So he retweeted stuff about anxiety in childhood. So some of that conversation that we were having about the mental health issues that maybe he was dealing with, this is a tweet that he put on there. Everyone thinks the most important mental health treatments are therapy, medication, self-care. They're all wrong. One treatment is 4 times more effective than all of them. Here's what it is. He's talking about the mushrooms. Here's a great summary of the anxious generation in tweets. And so he actually, right there, is endorsing a book about anxiety. The GitHub account links to a Facebook account named Approar Studios. So it sounds like there's some college writing that he did about the importance of building video games as an interdisciplinary art. Articles showing that he was valedictorian of the Baltimore Gilman School. He delivered a speech with a theme. We can watch the speech if you want. It's about 8 minutes long. Maintaining tradition while pioneering innovations. He wrote an article here highlighting interdisciplinary art of making video games, which is what I mentioned. And here's another article that I wrote, how students are passionate about game development are working against pen. So yeah, there you go. Also, his showing a pic of a spinal fusion. So was he living in pain and denied care? Just speculation. We also have no idea. I think that's, again, I don't know, but I think that picture there with the, issue in his spine is going to be a big part of the story. One thing that I mentioned, Instagram swiped his account. Laura Loomer went and grabbed it. I was on an airplane. And so I wasn't able to get the screen grabs that I wanted, but Laura Loomer grabbed it before they nuked his account so you can see it. He didn't have very recent stuff. Let me put it on the screen. He had 2,000 followers and was following 965. I wish I would have went through who he was following, because you can learn a lot from somebody by who they were following. But here you go. Pretty sure this is the volcano where they filmed The Incredibles. This was from 2021. That's how long it's been since he's posted. He was in Hawaii. You can see the pictures he's posting there. I don't mean to stereotype either. This is from August 2021, his second most recent post. But for as cool as they are trying to make him out to seem and be, like, again, not trying to stereotype, but a lot of the people that he's seen being friends with do not look like that. Like, the people that he's hanging out with do not look like him. In my opinion, it could be because he's maybe a little more intellectual. Interesting, there he is holding a McDonald's thing. This was from August 2019. So this is the Mangione family. This would be his family. It says the Mangione family takes San Diego. Congratulations to Maria Andrakit. I assume that's his sister. Maybe getting married or something. Warning, amidst showers of sparks, do not put in mouth, light fuse, and get away. The live firework in my mouth. Okay. Happy 21st. Thanks always for a great time. It's just, these are the posts on his. It's the only chance you're really going to get to see them, because his Instagram has been taken down. So that's that. Breaking, all of the photos on the Instagram account of the UnitedHealthcare worker Luigi Mangione have been deleted. UnitedHealthcare CEO shooter. It looks like his account is about to be nuked too. Pops up message, says something went wrong. His sister just locked her account too. I'm sure. Isn't it interesting too that if you followed the Brian Koberger case, one of the ways that he was identified was actually from those big bushy eyebrows. I mean, it is kind of a unique coincidence, right? Cat Joy, thank you so much for that. Amy Heights, Kim Alliston, thank you guys so much for your support today on the stream. Governor Josh Shapiro comments on the arrest, saying some attention in this case, especially online, has been deeply disturbing. Some looked to celebrate instead of condemning this killer. The arrest sparked significant online discussion and controversy, varied reactions, including humor, concern, and criticism. Every picture of Luigi Mangione that I could find, a thread. All right, let's just go through and see if there's any that we haven't seen yet. I thought it was interesting. This picture, the picture of him like in the back of the cop car wearing the face mask, very interesting photo. I thought it was a very unique and very interesting photo. I'm like, who would post that? The police officer had to post it. Picture 2. Picture 3 looks like probably with his siblings. Picture 4 with his parents. Picture 5. Picture 6. Wait, oh, picture 7, I mean. Picture 8. Did I miss one? Picture 6 is missing. Picture 9. Picture 10. Picture 11. Picture 12. Picture 13, which would be, looks like him arrested. Picture 14. Picture 15. Stanford Pre-Collegiate Studies. Picture 16. Picture 17. 18. This would be one of his fake IDs that he was using, going by the name Mark Rosario. I wonder why he came up with that name. Wonder how he knew how to make fake ID. Wonder what the whole situation is there. Picture 19, picture 20. This is the first time I've seen this photo. Right there is my first time actually seeing that photo. Picture 22. So there's a collection of all the photos of him. Very interesting. Luigi isn't ugly, but y'all doing way too much. It's getting weird. He's rich. Luigi's mansion is real. See, it's not a laughing matter, but I mean, if you know about Mario World, then you laugh a little bit about that. Okay. It's Ellen Greenberg. Looks like a lot of this is just about Shapiro, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Laura Loomer also posting and reporting about this, an exclusive. Luigi Mangione, the suspected UnitedHealthcare CEO shooter, is Facebook friends with Moses Hetfield. Hetfield is one of Mangione's few Facebook friends, and the two grew up in close proximity from each other in Maryland. Moses Hetfield is the son of Mark Hetfield, the president of the Jewish NGO HIAS Refugees, which facilitates illegal immigration into the United States with funding from the Department of Homeland Security. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is on the board of HIAS before he was appointed to the DHS secretary by Joe Biden. Moses's mother is Miriam Hetfield, who works at DHS with Mayorkas. She works in citizenship and immigration services. What are the odds that the alleged shooter has 1 degree of separation from the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas? And then here's the receipts of this. Okay, Moses's friend Luigi Mangione. You can read about her. You can see Hetfield. You can see the friendship that's going on there. Okay, more receipts. So Kathy says, follow the money. He was paid to do this. Again, that's a speculation. I have no idea, what the motive could be. Why would, I would, an instant pushback on that theory would be, why would he be paid to do this? Because he's already extremely wealthy. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, he owns he's the heir to 2 country clubs in Maryland. Like, I don't think that. Let me see what else Laura Loomer is saying. McDonald's is getting so much free PR this year, from Donald Trump making fries to the UnitedHealthcare alleged assassin getting caught inside. You can't buy this type of organic promotion. What I'm thinking about McDonald's too is, like, how good does an employee of McDonald's have to be able to, see it with their eye? Like, I think that's the guy seen on the news, and probably TikTok's responsible. There's definitely going to be a Netflix series about Luigi. Super Mario Brothers have been on my mind all day. Luigi's friend is now defending him on his Instagram story. He said when there's more information, it will be shared by Luigi's family. Okay, let's look at this. I don't understand why, at a time like this, someone would create a fake profile to solicit engagements. from thousands of people. When there is any information to be shared, it will come directly from the family. One of Luigi Mangione's friends posted, "He's not a monster." How do they know? They have his story all upside down. What does he know that would compel him to say that? He's not a monster. I can't put into words of how worried I am for you right now. They have this story upside down. Sheesh, his friends are coming to bat for him publicly like this? Sheesh. That's crazy. Cat Joy said, I had McDonald's today. I love McDonald's. I didn't have it today, but I want to. President Trump never flinched. Neither will I. Oh, here's the video of him arriving at the courthouse. Wow. Does he look like a killer to you? Put a 1 in the chat if you think he looks like a killer. Put a 2 in the chat if no. He looks like a man who's been on the run for a week. I can say that. I don't know if he looks like a killer, but he looks like a man who's been on the run. He looks tired. Looks like he's wearing dirty clothes. He looks upset. It looks like he didn't think he was going to get caught. Looks like he hasn't shaved in a few days. His X account, Instagram account, and Facebook account have all been deleted. There's his mugshot. Very interesting. Yeah, I think that this is... Oh, this is from a taxi. Okay, that makes sense. There's a guy on YouTube named Meet Kevin, and he actually did a video about why he thinks this happened, holding a Mario Cup. Rebecca Heck says his friends are defending him more than UHC execs said about their own CEO. It's a great point, an interesting observation as well, Rebecca. Very interesting.
So I wasn't planning on making a video today, but now that the UnitedHealthcare CEO shooter has been captured, I thought it would be a good idea to break down what's in this guy's head. And let me tell you, head is exactly what I think is on his mind, as in mental health. That didn't sound right. Anyway, the guy going through his social media posts really seems to be focused on anxiety, depression, and what corporate America is doing to Americans, especially younger American men. And he actually compares America today, especially what the corporate elites are doing, to Rome and the collapse of ancient Rome, where basically ancient Rome had elites running circuses and entertainment venues to entertain the masses and give them more holidays and give them more social handouts, more socialism, essentially. While the elites controlled that messaging, and because of that lack of activity amongst society, the overall...
Okay, that guy's a little boring to me so far. I put the link to his video in the chat. You can go watch it. Let's just go through Luigi Mangione, just trending what's going on X. It says, and I think that this is a fair question. Why do we know 100 times more about Luigi Mangione than we know about the man who assassinated Donald Trump? Fair question. If this man right there, Mangione, ends up in a BlackRock commercial, somebody should be searching for it now. There's a lot of questions I have. If Luigi Mangione wasn't attractive, nobody on social media would care, and in fact condemn him for the murder instead of praising him. The internet is going crazy. So many people don't think Mangione is the shooter. This guy brings up valid points. All right, let's listen to what he says. I've been waiting for somebody. I think they have the right guy considering the evidence that we know and the eyebrows and other things. But I'm actually really anxious to hear another thought. And by the way, if you're brand new to our channel, we invite you to hit that subscribe button and keep up with us and all the things that we cover. We're a Christian-based channel. If you're interested in that, it'd be a good reason to subscribe. And we also invite you to join our membership program. That you can hit the join button and become a member of what we call our Feller Fam. Rebecca, thank you so much for that. You said 1,000% good question.
chance that is the actual person of interest? Because nobody that planned that well ahead would be riding a Greyhound bus with the weapon on them and a manifesto. That person that they found is not the person, and they are framing that person. They're saying he got caught for using a fake ID in McDonald's. Who uses an ID at McDonald's? When have you ever had to show your ID for any reason at a McDonald's? What person in their right mind would be riding a Greyhound bus when it's been reported widely that he'd be on a bus? And who wouldn't have already buried the fucking weapon?
Sorry for the language.
Even the most simple-minded, inexperienced criminal.
Yeah, who knows why he kept on to the weapon? It's weird. Luigi Mangione, Italian guy, class valedictorian, don't believe the narrative. Isn't it incredible how much we already know about Luigi, but don't know anything about Tom's crooks? That's going to be a talking point. Like a true Italian, Luigi's fatal error was giving himself away by stopping to flirt with the cashier at the cafe before going in to work. As a Maryland local, it is well known that the Mangione family's fortune was built on the back of substandard care and nursing home facilities. What did Luigi witness?
What if the assassin's entire family wealth came from healthcare insurers? The entire world is aware that today Luigi Mangione was arrested as the prime suspect in the unaliving of the UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Pennsylvania, where unironically he was eating at a McDonald's. He had his manifesto with him. He had the weapon possibly 3D printed with him. But no one, and I mean no one, is talking about the fact that the healthcare companies are single-handedly responsible for all of his family's wealth. I, however, happen to be just outside Baltimore, and in Maryland, we all know where his family's money comes from. And I think there's a tie no one is talking about. Let's get into it. So Luigi Mangione went to Ivy League schools. He also did Ivy League seminars at Johns Hopkins and at Stanford University. He is an intelligent man, but he also graduated as the valedictorian from the Gilman School. Now, if you're anywhere around Maryland, then you know when someone asks where you went to school out here, they're not talking about your university. They're talking about your high school. The Gilman School is one of the most elite preparatory schools in our region, racking in at anywhere between $35,000 and $39,000 a year to go to school there. Introducing the Mangione family. Now, the Mangione family actually is the head of a group of organizations that are privately held nursing care facilities, and it's called the Lorien Group. And if you look at the Lorien Health Services About Us page as of today, it says a family-owned and operated organization founded by and conducts itself based on strong family values. But if you look just a couple days ago, it looked like this. That's right, folks. Just a few days ago, it said when Nicholas and Mary Mangione founded Lorien Health Services, they set out to provide Maryland seniors with pride and dignity, yada, yada, yada. It's very interesting how that just changed, isn't it? But how do we know who really owns all of these facilities, and how do we know he's related to them? Now, doing a fair amount of research on these nursing facilities, I've learned that since 1977, they've grown to have at least 9 long-term care and rehab facilities all across the state of Maryland. They also have expanded to add a healthcare services company, and they invested a ton of money in buying Turf Valley Golf Resort, where they have tons of weddings and conferences, and they also host hundreds and hundreds of dinners for healthcare and pharmaceutical representatives. No correlation, I'm sure. This is an article from the Washington Post discussing Nick and Mary Mangione's acquisition of the Turf Valley Resort. And it was in these responses to interrogatories from one of their lawsuits that I identified the ownership structure of Lorien Healthcare and their affiliates. In this document, they're answering who owns all of the facilities and who owns all of the stock in Lorien Healthcare and Lorien Health Services. And they identify it and say that the 10 adult offspring of Nicholas and Mary Mangione, listed as Louis, John, Rosemary, Linda, Lisita, Nicholas, Joanne, Peter Mangione, and Francis, and Samuel and Michelle, each own a 10% stake. Now, in this same set of interrogatories, they identify the specific breakdown of the shell corporations and which corporations do what with which facilities. They also address ownership of the Turf Valley Resort. I also found an attached letter offering to purchase a new facility, and it was signed by a law firm, but it was signed by Louis Mangione, president of the company that was doing the development for all of the rehab facilities and the resort. Now, Louis Mangione, according to address records, is likely Luigi's father. I had to go and find out which of them were Luigi's parents. When I did a background check on Luigi, I found his address as 1 Buckley Court in Towson, Maryland, which happens to be the same address as Louis Z. Mangione and also his wife, Kathleen Z. Mangione. And as I said, Luigi at 1 Buckley Court, Towson. In case you're wondering, 1 Buckley Court is neatly nestled right at the foothills of Providence, one of the most exclusive areas to live in and around Baltimore and Baltimore County. It's also very close to the private country club that the Mangione family purchased and operates today. Now, taking a really hard look at how the experiences are for the residents at their family nursing facilities, at first glance, it looked like they were really actually on the up and up. It looked like their residents were well taken care of. It appeared that they were receiving decent care. I couldn't find very many lawsuits, but then I dug. I found a bunch of shell corporations, and I identified several.
This girl, everybody should go follow her. Her name is Tiffany Cianci. She's clearly really well educated and knows how to find and source information. What she's saying right now is so important. She's making great connections to different pieces of information. Cat Joy, thank you for that. Rebecca Hicks said, I never thought he would give up this easy. He's too calculated to be caught that easy. I think so too. At least that was my thought. And by the way, I gifted 5 memberships to new people that we have coming in, and we're glad to have you.
Malpractice suits against them. I also went and looked at the government rankings of their nursing facilities from the Medicare assessment team that actually determines whether or not the residents have a strong quality of life. And let me tell you, the numbers were not pretty. Jumping back to the healthcare facilities and the state or condition and quality of care that their patients receive. Remember, Luigi volunteered here quite a bit. Right now, their most recent health rating is 2 stars. And they have received at least 24 demerits just on the health conditions and the health inspection investigations in their 1 facility this year alone. If you look here, it says the average number among similarly sized nursing homes in the United States is 9.6, and they've received 24 demerits just this year on 1 facility. According to this, they're squeezing 112.7 patients on average into a facility that the average in the United States holds 81. But this is where the percentages really start to upset me. As you know, I have done a ton of research on private equity and healthcare. And right here, you're going to see the percentage of long stay, low risk residents who lose control of their bowels or bladder, which has to be marked every time it happens for Medicare to pay for their bills. 83.2%. The national average is between 48-ish%. That means that of their low risk patients, almost 85% of them do not get taken to the bathroom in time to use the facilities and are forced instead to go on themselves or in their bed or in their diapers or whatever they have them using. But they are not taken to the bathrooms 84% of the time. This is the ownership of the facility so that you can see that these stats are for one of their facilities, Lorien Health Services, right here. And if you look, it's got their contact information right here. I'm not saying to use it. Do not use it. And it also lists their ownership, and here it is. We have Michelle, Rosemary, Linda, Joanne, John, Louis Mangione, Nick Mangione, Peter, Samuel, and Francis, the 10 siblings, each owning 10%, as stated in the article I posted before. Now, that's 1 out of 9 of their facilities. And I know what you're thinking, well, how do we know that Luigi cares at all about what's happening at his family business that has grown and grown and grown? Well, if you look into his LinkedIn, or you did before they took it down, it shows that he regularly volunteered at Lorien Healthcare Services. I give you Exhibit A, one of the instances where he did some volunteer work at his family business. Now, if you look at the notes that have come from the releases today of the manifesto or the documents that were with Luigi Mangione at the time of his arrest, the documents apparently said these parasites had it coming. I do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done. I am not informed enough to analyze whether he allegedly did what he's being accused of doing or why he did it. But what I do know is he was an incredibly intelligent individual, graduating valedictorian and then later cum laude from very prestigious institutions. His social media feed reads like a philosophical challenge board. And as somebody who has a degree in philosophy, I was actually kind of shocked by how much of his posting actually overlapped with a lot of the stuff that I read in school. I do know that we may be dealing with the possibility of an identity rebellion, or we could be dealing with an ideological, like ethical awakening. I know that online he frequently posted about utilitarian versus virtue ethics. Now, if you're not familiar with that concept, utilitarianism is the greatest good for the greatest number of people, regardless of what it takes to get there. Whereas virtue ethics say that an act is good only if a virtuous person would do it. He said that unequivocally, he tended to lean towards utilitarianism, saying that actions justify the outcome if the change was positive for the most number of people. That kind of speaks to where we're at. So what do we know? We know that this guy was caught eating at a McDonald's with...
Essentially what she's saying is that he felt okay taking one for the team. And, you know, to him, it wasn't wrong in the way that he views the world. Cat Joy, thank you so much for this. Said Tyler is amazing. I think you're amazing. Thank you for your support.
Everything the police needed in his backpack. We know that he had very specific things written in that backpack that suggested that what he did needed to be done if he in fact did it. We also know that all of his family's wealth, and their wealth is substantial, came from the very same healthcare companies as Brian Thompson was the CEO of. And they have significant wealth. Among their shell corporations, they own dozens of businesses and a resort that houses thousands of acres of prime real estate in the middle of one of the most expensive states to own real estate in the United States. We know they owned homes in the most exclusive and expensive area in Maryland, and Maryland has several of the most expensive or the highest earning counties in the United States.
It's because it's all government lobbyists. That's why. Yeah, she's incredible. Her name is Tiffany Cianci. Go follow her if you don't already. Again, this is the mugshot. This man here, Kevin, saying Luigi lost his smile for his mugshot. I do want to take a second and pray. Again, we're a Christian-based channel. It's the end of our stream now. We're running out of time. Stay with us for another 10 seconds while I pray. It's also your last chance if you're watching to give, if you wanted to give and support in that way. We're going to pray. I'm going to pray for you in the chat. I'm going to pray for, families that are impacted by this. So, Lord, we thank you for your great grace. Lord, we pray for everybody that's grieving a loss of a father, of a family member, of a boss right now. We pray, Lord, that they would sense your nearness and closeness. Your word says you're close to the brokenhearted. Lord, we pray for even Luigi's family who's trying to have to make sense of this, caught them by surprise. And Lord, that you would even comfort them and be with them. And Lord, I pray for our nation. There's people filled with angst and anger about the current state of society. And yet, God, we know that you're faithful. And so we put our trust in you. I bless everybody in the chat that they would be filled with hope and peace in the mighty, powerful name of Jesus. Amen, 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 amen. I want to go through the chats just for a second to see what people are saying, because I was so busy I didn't get to read much of the chat tonight. Melon DNA says he got radicalized. Very smart guy who travels in new different parts of the world. They live in a different environment. So yeah, you're probably right. There's a little bit of radicalization that had taken place probably. John Arthur said, I thought he'd come up here to Vermont. It's the easiest way to flee to Canada. I think Canada's taken refugees, if I understand right. And Donald Trump said, if you guys don't get it right, you need to become the 51st state. Did we ever find out why the Trump shooter had overseas accounts? We didn't, and I wish we did. I'll tell you that much right now. I wish that we did. This could be the usual elitist Freemason psyop stuff. Could be at this point. I used to not believe any of that stuff. And then the more and more that our culture is getting a little loco for cocoa, I start to believe any kind of that stuff. So I don't know. To me, about anything's on the table is a possibility at this point. Dude should have kept his mask on and got an eyebrow wax. Those are the things that done him in. It's true. I'm glad if he's responsible, I'm glad that he got caught. All right, guys, thank you so much. If you don't mind, as soon as I end the stream, leave a comment and tell me if you think they got the right guy. Thanks for being on the stream.